Donald Trump got roasted by King Charles over his $400 million golden ballroom, which Republicans are now insisting should be funded by taxpayers. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Donald Trump desperately wants to be a king. We all know this. He loves pageantry and fanfare and putting his face and name on everything. His official store sells everything from Trump golf balls to Trump beer koozies to Trump pickleball paddles to Trump dog collars, which you can get in 3 sizes: Poodle, Doberman, and J.D. Vance. And now he's doing the same thing to official government documents.
A series of U.S. passports with an image of President Trump on the inside cover will be issued this year as part of the nation's 250th anniversary.
This is just another example of the president adding his name or image to government items. You may remember him adding his likeness to the National Park Pass right next to George Washington. And back in February, a large banner was hung outside the Justice Department with his face on it.
Trump would be the first living president to have his image inside of a passport.
The passport joins a growing list of things named after Trump just this term. We do have the rolling ledger of how Trump is doing compared to his predecessors in terms of naming things after himself. And everybody's at 0. And Trump is at
while
10.
in office.
It's the only measure by which Trump is doing better than his predecessors. And we're only 15 months in. By the time his term is over, we're all going to live in the United States of Trump, take swims in the Gulf of Trump, and when you need to take a dump in a public park, instead of a porta-john, you'll have to use a porta-Trump. And by the way, who the hell wants Trump's scowling face on their passport? Based on how he's treated other countries, that thing is going to be like a Disney Fast Pass right to the cavity search line. I'm not great at accents, but here are some of the things you can expect to hear at airports across the world when they open this up. Mon Dieu! Gott im Himmel! Ay, Dios míos! Take a look at this mug. That last one was Logan Airport in Boston. Now, if you're worried you're going to be stuck with Trump's face on your passport, there's good news. You only get this special edition in one place.
They will be issued to citizens who apply in person at the Washington, D.C. passport office. If you would rather get a standard passport, you can apply at any other office or online.
So you better move fast because lines are forming never. Look, I'm not saying people won't want this passport. I'm just saying I find it hard to believe there are many MAGA diehards willing to drive all the way to D.C. just to get one. I mean, there are other ways to tell a customs agent you're a Trump fan. For example, when they ask what the purpose of your visit is, you can say, it's a good question and people have been talking about it more and more. And am I going to see the sights or am I visiting family? It's definitely something we're looking into and you're going to be very surprised when you hear the answer. And then, you'll get your second cavity search. We already checked him, Dave. We'll check him again. The point is, Trump loves king stuff. He loves his face on documents. You can tell he's always happiest when he goes abroad and other countries treat him like he's royalty. In South Korea, they gave him an actual golden crown. In Saudi Arabia, he was welcomed by an honor guard wielding golden swords. And in Qatar, he was greeted by a parade of camels, although there was a brief international incident when one of those camels ended up in RFK Jr.'s fridge. Camel meat is actually very high in amino acids. It tastes almost as good as raccoon. And Trump clearly loves the royal treatment.
We appreciate those camels. I haven't seen camels like that in a long time.
What do you mean you haven't seen camels like that in a long time? I haven't seen camels like that since the time my dad paid a stranger to take me to the circus. Oh, we had a time, Lefty and me. I called him Lefty because about after 15 minutes with me, he left. So Trump's trip last year to the UK, the mother of all monarchies, should have been his peak, but it didn't go quite as planned because the UK is a free society, so he faced massive protests, both from people who projected an image of him with Jeffrey Epstein onto Windsor Castle, and from horses, one of whom took a dump right in front of him. When Trump saw that, he was like, a camel would never. But this week, Trump got a redo for his royal visit when King Charles came to the U.S., and Trump pulled out all the stops, including some stops I didn't know existed.
King Charles and Queen Camilla arriving to a red carpet welcome here at the White House.
They were greeted with renditions of the British and U.S. national anthems when they landed at Joint Base Andrews.
He and the Queen are going to be honored at a rare state dinner here at the White House tonight, so lots of pomp and circumstance. Yesterday, the royals joined the president and the First Lady for afternoon tea. They also toured the South Lawn to see the new White House beehive that is constructed in the shape of the White House.
Wait, what? There's a beehive in the shape of the White House? So even the bees are getting a ballroom now? And let me just say, I for one don't care if the White House has a beehive. I just pray Trump doesn't do that thing he's doing with the ballroom of claiming every president before him wanted a beehive in the shape of a White House, but he's the only one who can get it done because he's the first president who is good at beehives. Because if he did, it would sound like this.
They've wanted a
Beehive.
Here, we don't have a
Beehive.
They've wanted a great
Beehive.
and we're going to build the greatest
Beehive.
anywhere in the world. They've wanted a
Beehive.
at the White House. We're going to make and build a
Beehive.
Actually, so it'd be pretty fun. I hope it happens. It's pretty fun. So the stakes were high. This trip was an effort to reset U.S.-UK relations, which have been rocky. Unfortunately, there were still some screw-ups.
The District of Columbia is scrambling to fix a major mix-up after putting up Australian flags instead of British flags near the White House ahead of King Charles's U.S. visit. 15 Australian flags were briefly included among more than 230 Union Jack flags put on display to welcome King Charles.
You think it would be an easy mistake to spot since the flags look different? These are national flags. You get just the one design. It's not like Major League Baseball where you have alternate away flags. Speaking of, have you seen the new alternate uniform they're making the Mets wear? Clown suits. So the flag mishap was awkward, and things got even rockier when Trump cut in front of Camilla. Cut right in front of her while shaking hands with White House staff. He cut in front of her like they were in line for cake at a 5-year-old's birthday party. Also, why would you cut in front of a guest to shake hands with people you see every day? Be like, if I introduced someone to come on this show and then instead of getting up to say hi to them, I just ran to shake hands with Cue Card Wally. No one looks at a Wally before I do. Don't clap for Wally and ruin my vibe. But beneath all the pageantry and fanfare, there have been moments of tension. Trump's been lobbing insults at the UK for not coming to his rescue during the Iran war. He even claimed that without the US, Europeans would all be speaking German, but Charles had a comeback premised on the fact that parts of North America were, of course, colonized by both England and France.
You recently commented, Mr. President, that if it were not for the United States, European countries would be speaking German. Dare I say that if it wasn't for us, you'd be speaking French.
Oh, man, when Trump heard that joke, I guarantee he fake laughed so hard because he definitely didn't get it.
well said. What, though?
And let me just say, can you imagine Donald Trump trying to speak French? He can barely speak English. In fact, there are times when he's speaking English and it sounds like he's trying to speak French.
known or suspected gang members. The oranges of the investigation, the beginnings. Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat Donald Trump's very, very large brain. This is me. I hear. Controlled by large donors, unelected regulators and regulators.
The donors and regulators suspect that Donald Trump has a very large brain, no? But Charles saved his best line for Trump's obsession with building a White House ballroom, which involves demolishing the East Wing. The king referenced the War of 1812 when British forces burned down the White House.
I cannot help noticing the readjustments to the East Wing, Mr. President. Following your visit to Windsor Castle last year. And I'm sorry to say that we British, of course, made our own small attempt at real estate redevelopment of the White House in 1814.
Oh, Charles, your punchlines are like sex with Melania. I don't get it.
But the timing of Charles's ballroom jab must be especially wounding for Trump, given that the entire Republican Party is now falling in lockstep behind Trump's ballroom demand after the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
A lot of senators and representatives are now saying this is why we need to get the ballroom back up and running.
We got to build that ballroom as soon as possible.
The ballroom will be a solution for this.
Being more prepared means having a facility like this ballroom.
This is one of the reasons why the president has been pushing to build this ballroom at the White House.
The president is right about this, having the ballroom on the White House grounds.
A ballroom is imperative.
The American people elected no. You forget that the American people elected Donald Trump to do three things: build a golden ballroom, put his face on passports, and get on by a royal horse. You remember now. How is this their biggest priority? Gas is at its highest point since the Iran war started, and a majority of Americans say their financial situation is getting worse, which is the highest ever in polling. And you think the thing that's going to solve our problems is a golden ballroom that no one else can use? The only way any of us will ever see the inside of that ballroom is if we find a Trump passport with like a golden ticket inside, and he gives you a tour like he's Willy Wonka. And this is the beehive. This is where we make the delicious honey for our chocolate bar. You want to meet the Oompa Loompas? Marco, JD, come out and sing. But at the very least, this dumb vanity project was supposed to be funded by private donations, not taxpayers. Well, you'll never guess what happened this week. Republicans changed their tune and said we should pay for the ballroom that none of us asked for.
A group of Senate Republicans is pushing to fund the construction of President Trump's 90,000 square foot ballroom using taxpayer money. The effort's being led by Senator and close Trump ally Lindsey Graham.
We're going to introduce legislation that would authorize $400 million to be spent to secure to build the presidential ballroom. Underneath, there will be a lot of military stuff. There will be a Secret Service annex. The estimate is $332 million. We're going to do $400 million because I think it's probably going to take more. Private donations can be used, but I think they should be used for buying China and stuff like that.
They can use donations to buy China because I ain't giving them mine. I need my China for my dinner parties, even though my Meemaw keeps telling me no one's ever going to come to my parties. Maybe they'd come if you'd stay in your room. Instead of traipsing around the dinner table with your nightgown half open. Asking everybody if you want to open it up to see your military stuff. The old dust bucket. And now Republicans... No, it didn't go great. And now Republicans are seriously trying to claim that this is actually a gift. The ballroom is a gift to the next president.
The next time that we have a Democrat president and Democrats who are going to receptions and parties at the White House, they're going to love the big, beautiful ballroom that Donald Trump built for them and for the country. I mean, it's something that I think we can all look forward to and celebrate.
No, we can't, because none of us can use it. Also, he's not going to leave it in a usable condition for a Democrat. He or his supporters are going to march in, smash all the windows, flip over the tables. The only invite Trump's going to make is to the horse he met in England. Tell him to do a couple of laps and do his worst. Americans are more pessimistic about their financial situations than they've ever been in the history of polling, but Trump doesn't care. There's one thing he can say he accomplished as president, putting his name and face on things. When it comes to everything else, it turns out his promises were emptier than his...
a brain.
This has been a closer look.